Well, good evening, everyone, and welcome back to Discover Your Intuitive Self. I'm your host, Brenda Reading. Before we get into tonight's topic about different divination tools, I just want to let everyone know that I'm so excited that next week we will be having Irma K. Sawyer as a guest on the show. She's an author, astrologer, teacher, and intuitive counselor from Southern California. She's written 5 books: Cosmic Love, Keys to the Path of Light, and the Bright Star Empowerment Series. You can learn more about Irma K at Irma K, and that's K-A-Y-E, Sawyer, SAWYER.com before our show next week. She is an Akashic record teacher, and she was my teacher for me learning how to do Akashic record readings, and she's fabulous. So I can't wait to have her on the show next week. So now that we've got that taken care of, let's just delve into our topic for tonight. So I don't know if all of you remember the magic 8-ball, right, from our childhood, that black ball that looked like the cue ball with the 8 on it, and you'd shake it up and you'd ask a question and it would give you some kind of hokey answer on the bottom when you turned it over, or not. It would say ask again later, right? Well, this is the all-seeing eye, okay? And it works the same way pretty much. You shake it up, right? You ask a question, you shake it up, and you turn it over and it says something silly. Anyways, I just want to remind you that you already have your all-seeing eye located right here in the center of your forehead, your third eye, okay? Pretty cornball, but I just wanted to show you that. Thought it was funny. Anyways, so divination, according to the dictionary, right? Seeking knowledge of future or unknown events by supernatural means, okay? According to Wikipedia, divination means inspired by God. So there are many various divination tools, such as pendulums, oracle cards, runes. You basically rely on the energetic field that's around you and of the person that you're doing the reading for. And you rely on your own intuition and your higher self, right? And we'll discuss about the intuition and how that connects to the divination tools in a minute. But I thought first it might be interesting, because yes, I had to do some of my little research this week for the show. It might be interesting to chat about some ancient methods that seers used thousands of years ago. So one of the methods that I came across was used in Mesopotamia and ancient Greece, and it was called hieromancy. Now, anything that has the word mancy at the end of it means seer or prophet. That's what mancy means, okay? So hieromancy in the ancient time was the reading of entrails of animals, right? Gross, right? But this was something that was quite common back in those days. And what they would do is they would do a ritual to sacrifice the animal, and then they would take a look at the internal organs, especially the liver, okay? If it was a healthy liver, that was a good omen, and it signified prosperity. If there was a defect in the liver, such as a missing lobe, that predicted doom and gloom, okay? And Cicero once wrote, nearly everybody employs entrails in divining. So I thought that was pretty funny back in the day. Another method that I found out about was called ornithomancy, or ornithomancy. I'm sure I'm like making that pronunciation all messed up. The Greeks and the ancient Romans used it, and it was the study of birds, the different species, the colors, the flying patterns for prediction purposes. So I'll give you an example, okay? So as far as like interpreting the flight of a bird, if the bird was flying horizontally, it indicated that you would ultimately reach your goal, but there would be a hardship along the way. If the bird was flying right to left, it indicated that you will reach your desired goal with little friction or problems. if the flight was left to right, there would be obstacles in your path, and you may need to reevaluate your plans. A bird flying straight towards you would indicate that your situation would improve and fair fortune and happiness lies ahead. Okay? They also would look at how the bird was landing, and there was different things about that too. Also with the birds, the different colors of the birds also meant something as far as seeing into the future. Red was indicative of good luck. Orange was excitement or happiness. Yellow came as a warning to watch your back and maintain your guard. A green-colored bird was indicative of a coming adventure. Blue was indicative of love and happiness, which doesn't surprise me because we've all heard about the blue bird of happiness, right? The white-colored bird was extreme happiness and considered an extremely good omen. Gray indicated peace and contentment, and if you think about that, doves are often gray, and we associate those with peace. They're called peace doves. Brown indicated healing and fair health. Brown could also, with white, indicate a happy and peaceful home life. And blackbirds came as a warning of unseen danger. Now, but I don't want that to be confused with actual black birds, okay? Meaning like crows and that type of thing, all right? Because they also took a look at the different species of the birds. And as we know, bluebirds indicate happiness or spiritual awakening. Ducks meant stable relationships. And if the duck was quacking when you saw it, it was good luck. Hummingbirds represent joy and prosperity. Now, owls, if the owl hooted 3 times, that foretold a major change or impending death. And all other appearances of the owls represented magic or wisdom. Robins, which we see a lot here up in the Northeast, when seen in the morning, would indicate that later you would have guests. If they were nesting near your home, it was very good luck. Woodpeckers were indicative of a future success in your workplace. And crows, usually considered a bad omen, and their cawing may mean that your enemies are actively working against you. If it cawed 3 times, however, it was a good omen, and a crow in flight is indicative of a future travel. However, I don't want that to be confused with the symbolism used by Native Americans / indigenous people, because crows for them are a sacred bird and they represent wisdom, good luck, deep connection with the earth, because crows are extremely intelligent. They are one of the most intelligent species on the planet, and each culture has their own divination methods and symbology. Okay, so I want to share with you, I thought this was kind of fun. Here is a little practice that people would do regarding birds. You would need a plain white paper plate, some bird seed, small pieces of bread, a pen, in your journal. And then you would come up with a question that you wanted an answer to, and then meditate on it a little bit. And once you had settled on the question, you would actually turn the paper plate over and write the question on the back of the paper plate. Then turn it back over and fill it with the bird seed and the bread pieces. And then they would say this type of, they call it a charm, okay? My feathered friends, hear my request. Of the God's intentions you stay abreast. Please join me for this humble meal and share your news, let none conceal. Your most wise counsel do I seek by wing and feather, tail and beak. And then you would put it outside to see if the birds came, and pay attention who arrived, what kind of bird it was, which direction it came from, how long they stayed, that type of thing, the color of it. Then you would take note of it and take a look at all the different things we just talked about. That seems very involved to me, trying to figure out an answer to a question. having to go through this whole thing with the birds, right? However, that's what some people did. So now I would like to talk quickly about ancient China. 10,050 BC, the Shang dynasty. The shamans practiced something called osteomancy, which you probably guessed it. It means the reading of bones. They would use shoulder blades of ox and backs of tortoise shells. And they would chisel out a question on the bone. That had to take, right? Then they would take a pointed object and try to chisel a little pit into that bone. And then they would have to heat up an object, a metal object with a point on it, and insert it into the pit to make the bone crack. And depending how the cracks looked, they would have their answer. Now, I will say, I did more research trying to find out exactly how they interpreted the cracks on these bones and tortoise shells. I could not find that. But anyway, so that was something that they did back in the day in the ancient Shang dynasty. It seems like an awful lot of fuss, right? When you can just use your own intuition and yourself. You already have, right? You already have it. So as we go on, let's just talk about runes. Runes are stones with a letter or symbol engraved on them. And those letters or symbols are the runic alphabet, which was developed by the Germanic people right around 150 AD. The Anglo-Saxon, Northern Europe, including Denmark, Norway, Sweden. Now, the word runa means secret or whisper. So each letter or symbol in the alphabet has a meaning. And once again, you ask your question and you meditate on it. And then the reader pulls the runes. I'm sorry, the sitter pulls the runes, right? And then the reader develops a story based on the runes that are picked. So that is another method of divination. Much like using your intuitive energy, we also use tarot cards and oracle cards, right? And we have our questions and we hold the cards. And then, there are many, many different spreads that you can use for oracle and tarot cards. Now, I will say, I am not the expert on tarot cards, okay? I will share with you a little bit of what I know. And there are different websites that you can go to. I'm sure the different readers on this network also are very skilled with their knowledge of tarot cards. The guest that I had on, Sue Stush, remember her? She is an expert tarot card reader. You can find her on Facebook. And I also have a friend, her name is Lori Gates. She has Spiritually Enlightened Living. You can find her on Facebook. She is also another excellent tarot reader. I know this because they've both given me readings. So anyways, so the tarot cards, they were developed in the mid-1400s in France and Italy. And basically, when you pick the cards, right, energetically, it also develops a story. And the reader takes the different cards that come up, and they each are a component of the total reading for you. And in 1909, the Rider-Waite deck was developed, and it's a very colorful deck, okay? And it is basically the journey of the Fool, and there's the major arcana cards, and then there's the minor arcana cards, and they're divided up into the 4 different suits, just like in regular cards, okay? There's the wands, which represent thought or your growth, inspiration, and also the element of fire. There are the swords, which is air, or the action cards, as you can imagine, swords. Then there's the cups, which is representative of the water element and also our emotions, okay? And then there is the pentacles, which are the coin cards. I'll show you that's what they look like, the coins, okay? And that, of course, is representative of the earth element and also our monetary aspects of our life. I'm just going to show you a few of these. They are very colorful. They're very ornate. There is so much going on in these cards that not only can you do strict tarot readings with them, you can do intuitive readings with them using your intuition as well, focusing in on colors, different objects in the card, how the card feels to you, what the direction of the card looks. Here's the Fool card, which is the first card in the journey, okay? And this is quite an ornate deck, okay? It really has, here's the Wands, it really has a lot of different ways you can use these tarot cards. There are so many different tarot card decks out there on the market. You can just, go to Amazon, whatever, and pick out something that you're drawn to. The other type of oracle cards are, they aren't based on any type of, card deck, but they can be something like this one is by Stephen Farmer. It's called Messages from Your Animal Guides and Spirit. Okay, your animal spirit guides. It's really nice if you're trying to connect to the more grounded earth energy, right? If you're resonating with that type of energy, and you do the same process. You sit, you have a question, you meditate with the cards, you shuffle the cards, and then you're energetically drawn to the card that is supposed to be for your highest and best good. Here's an example of one of the cards. Here's the tortoise. If you were to draw this card after you ask a question, it says, you're too fragmented, so do whatever it takes to get grounded. I have to wonder, since I just pulled this card, what are they telling me? Maybe it's about this show and how I'm piecing it all together with all these different things. I don't know. But tortoise is a really good card to pull, though, as well. So there's just a couple of examples of cards that you can use. Another tool that I find to be helpful is the pendulum. And here's an example of a simple pendulum, right? It's on a chain, and it's got a stone at the bottom with the point, right? And here's another pendulum that I have. And this is a crystal pendulum. It's just using a little crystal point, okay? And they're very good for yes or no type questions. And I'll show you what you do. This is another tool where you can connect with your subconscious and your higher self. And it's based on the energies, okay? So originally, these type of pendulums, they were used to locate water, minerals, and items underground. You've probably seen the divining rods, right, with the wood, and they go out and they used to find water like that. Well, these pendulums can work to help provide insight with yes or no answers. So if you're going to choose your own pendulum, go to your store and feel it in your hands, okay? You should be able to feel different energies from the pendulums in your hand and pick the one that feels best to you. Then, when you get it home, you want to cleanse it because you want to make sure it doesn't have anybody else's energies still left on it from wherever it was before you bought it, okay? And you can do that one of several ways. You can run it under hot or cold water. You can smudge it with sage, you just burn the sage and then you let the smoke come around it. You can set it in moonlight, and that way there won't be any other people's energies on it but yours. Now, how to work with the pendulum. All right, I had a teacher, her name was Nancy Holbrook, and she would say you would take the forefinger and the thumb and you would hold it on the top of it, but then she would let the pendulum lay over her first finger. She would say that a lot of people don't use the pendulum properly because they hold it like this, just from the top without laying it over the finger. So she was very strict about how she thought the pendulum should be used, okay? You hold it in your hands, And you always, just like anything else you ever do, you ask for the highest and best, clearest information, okay? Then you need to find out how this particular pendulum works with you. Yes or no answers, okay? So for mine, I would say, please give me a yes, okay? Now, for me, yes goes back and forth like I'm nodding my head. There it goes. See, I'm not even moving my hand, and there it goes. No, please give me a no. Then my pendulum should begin, starts to shake a little bit, and then it will start to go the other direction, like you're going like this from left to right, and that is no. And so that's how you learn how your pendulum works with you. Just to make sure that the pendulum is working properly, you ask it a few questions that you already know the answer to, okay? To make sure that you're getting the right answer for yes and the right answer for no, okay? So energetically, you can also use the pendulums to check your chakras to see if your energy centers are working properly. And there's a lot of stuff on the internet as to how to do that. You can tell if your chakras are balanced, or if they're open, or if they're closed. And then you can use these pendulums along with some proper crystals or Reiki energy to help you balance your chakra. Okay? One other thing that we did in a psychic detective class is we used pendulums to help us locate, at the time, it was a person that had passed away, their body, because they didn't know where the body was. Well, actually, the case was a solved case, but for the purpose of the class, we didn't know where it was. So what we had is we had a map. This is a Google map, okay? And what we did is they told us to dissect the map down the middle, right? So that into two parts first. And then you hold your pendulum over each part, and you ask the question, is so-and-so located to the right of the center line? And then you watch how your pendulum answers. And then it says, if it says no, then you know it's over on the other side. Then you proceed to dissect each part of the map. So then next time you might put your line this way. Is it located at the top of the map? Yes or no? Is it located at the bottom of the map? Yes or no? And whatever the answer you get, then you take that portion of the map and you dissect it again. And you become zeroing in closer and closer to the thing that you're trying to find. In that particular instance, that was a person's body. But you can use your pendulum not only for yes or no answers, you can use it to try to find things in your house. Yes, you can take a piece of paper and you can draw a very simple diagram of your home, and you can do the same exercise with the paper. And then you can, ask, is it on the second story? Yes or no? Is it on the first story? Yes or no? And that you get your answer, and then you draw your line and you dissect the map, making it smaller and smaller each time. And that can help you find things in your house. I know that sounds a little bit hard to believe, but let me tell you, the pendulum, I have used it before, and it's usually pretty accurate. And during that psychic investigation class, using the pendulum, I got really close to where they had found the person. And the map was pretty large to start with. So it can be a good tool. But like anything, all right, there are various schools of thought about using divination tools for psychic readings. And I look at it like sometimes it can be used as a first step in becoming more in tune and comfortable with your own intuitive gifts, okay? I know a few tarot readers. They're excellent tarot card readers. They started with the cards, and then as they became more comfortable with using their own intuition with the cards, they were able to open up their gifts of mediumship along with it. Just like sometimes when you do Reiki on people and you get an attunement for Reiki, many people start having messages come and become more open to the universe itself and being able to tap in to the connection between your intuition and the all that is. So I have a pretty positive and open opinion on these type of tools, not the entrails one. I would not suggest or recommend starting with looking at the entrails of dead animals. I don't think that's a good idea. But if you were to try to start working with oracle cards or your pendulum, that may be a good way for you to feel comfortable with working with your intuitive gifts. So I just want to remind you of next week. We're going to be having Irma K. Sawyer on. She is a wonderful teacher. And when I had my center in Fredonia, Angels of Hope, she would do Zoom classes for us 6 years ago. And we learned a lot from her. And we will be talking about Akashic records and readings. So please come and tune in next week at 8:30. And I will see you soon. Thank you for tuning in. And don't forget, you already have your all-seeing eye right here in the middle of your own forehead. Have a great week.